Let's call this thing to order. Welcome. It is the West River Education District, I'll shorten it, board meeting. Do we have any additions or corrections to tonight's agenda? Nothing. Okay. Do we actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We don't have a quorum.
We don't have
Al's here.
We don't have 6. Oh,
Six.
Al's here. 6. Ha! Now we're calling it to order because we have a quorum. There were so many bodies at the table, and then I went, wait, do we? Yeah, sorry. Okay, now we're really to order. So anyway, no additions or corrections to the agenda, right? Okay. Take a look at your board norms in front of you on the back of your placard. Maintain the focus, communicate respectively, be present at the meeting, keep the board productive and effective, and respect the agenda. We'll try to do that. It's just a good quick reminder. Members of the public, if you're here for something that's on the agenda, we'd ask you to talk to us at that point. If you're here for something that's not on the agenda, now is your moment. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I have a couple of questions, and they're kind of old news, but, old things, but I just need clarification, so. The small schools grant, how is that distributed? Does that go directly to the school that qualifies, along with their fair share of the taxpayer dollars, or is it commingled?
It is commingled, it is treated as revenue,
Okay.
and it goes to the school district, of which the school is a member of.
So that doesn't seem quite right to me, but.
So for example,
One district, one budget.
right,
Everything flows in, everything flows out.
that is how it is currently handled.
So everything flows in, everything flows out, there's no exceptions to that rule?
That is currently how it is done, yes.
Every grant, every...
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. My next question that I was unsure of, because through the budget process, there was a lot of talk about this 5% protection or whatever. And I don't remember that from study committee things and stuff, so I tried to hunt for it today to find out exactly what is this and how does it, it's not part of the tax breaks we got for merging, right?
It's part of the original law, but it is not one of the big major things that was discussed at the time. But it is in the text of Act 46.
I don't remember hearing a word.
Lori had a nice,
Yeah, I was going to say, there's
I
a
don't have
really
it with
good
me.
visual presentation that I can email you offline.
That would be great, thank you. Okay.
specifically to the 5%, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
I have a question.
sure. Can you just introduce yourself for the
I'm
viewing
Beth
audience
from
in your town?
Jamaica.
Thank you.
Is this the final report that we're going to be getting for our town report?
Yes.
I had asked Drew at one of the meetings, I would have liked to have in this report, a final report as the 1st of July, how much monies or liabilities from each town come into the new district. And I don't see anything in here whatsoever to touch on that at all.
I haven't looked at it yet. Do we have an audit in there?
So the audit is not complete.
That's why.
Right. The audit will be made available once it is available, and we'll publicly post it, and we'll also have it available on hard copy. But yes, you're right, it is not in that.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Lisa. I live in Jamaica. I have a first grader in Jamaica Village School now, kindergartner, first grader. At the last meeting, I inquired about individualized lesson plans because we've got different classes grouped together. So we had pre-K, K, and 1. Next year, we're expecting possibly K1 and 2. And what I have met with Principal Bernardo about is getting an individualized lesson plan. I inquired about that specifically at the last meeting. And at the meeting, I was referred to Principal Roach, who graciously said I should come to Townsend, that he can meet our needs there. So I decided to go to Townsend and check it out. And I met with a second grade teacher there. And what I found was that it is, as has been rumored, very overcrowded. Their classrooms are about half the size of ours, and they have twice as many students. Their gym area has a stage behind it, which is used for overflow classrooms. Even though the student body wasn't in session, it felt crowded to me. and I would love my boys to stay in a nice, small classroom. But, having spoken with Pam about the individualized lesson plan, I understand since that conversation with her, the board has passed a 2-year plan to initiate that. So it would not be before my son is 10 years old. I spoke with Mrs. Bernardo, we met, I guess, last week. She could speak to that. And she said the board had approved a 2-year term within which they would be able to provide an individualized lesson plan. So if next year we're going to have K1 and 2 together, that's an even bigger age gap than the littler ones as they are now, up till 1st grade. So I really want him to get, he particularly needs to be challenged in math, and he's not getting that. We have a new interventionist there for a half an hour, I think, a week. Well, he's not really going to benefit from that. He doesn't need that. And the amount of time, that's probably going to go to the kids who are really needy, not the ones who want to be challenged. So I feel he probably won't benefit from that. What I noticed at JVS this year is that there's a lot fewer support staff. We used to have 2 people in our classroom with 9 and 10 kids. This year we had 9 kids. One of them was being potty trained every 2 hours by the teacher. She was there by herself. And the older kids, they're not certainly getting the attention that they need. And I don't think that's an issue that's happening in Townsend. And I want to make sure that next year my boys are getting the same attention and the same benefit of curriculum that the kids are getting in Townsend. So I really want them to stay in Jamaica Village School. It's a fantastic school with wonderful teachers, and that is my plan. But I'm going to, if I need to write to the Agency of Education to assure that whatever staff we are entitled to, we get. Because I don't see, I've inquired, you know, what is it, you have a lot of kids with IEPs, where's the support staff? We can't talk about that. I've hit that wall twice. I understand confidentiality. However, there needs to be oversight that is transparent. What kind of numbers are we talking about? If this is a numbers game, then keep more kids in Jamaica so that we get the support staff we need to assure that everybody gets the slower learners and the faster learners are treated the same. They get the same good experience in both schools. If you could speak to that 2-year plan, I see you, Mr. Anton. I don't know if you had a
I
comment.
am unaware of a 2-year plan for individualized education
maybe.
plan for any student that is not required by federal law. I have discussed with Principal Bernardo about taking advantage of the small amount of students that are in Jamaica Village School and really looking at them individually and working with the staff to make that happen. But the specificity of the timeline, I don't have any information other than what you just shared.
Then we get clarification on that.
So,
Because I want this to happen in the near term, not in 2 years. I'd like it to happen, if not, this year, then next year, beginning of the school year.
So I'll let Pam answer, but I would just say that it would be great to have an individualized plan for every single student, but that is it's not a requirement to have that.
Well, maybe that's the long term.
so if I may,
Yeah, please.
when Ms. Mann and I spoke about I'll get the words wrong, sorry, because they're different from what I was saying. The SIP, the Comprehensive Improvement Plan, one of the goals in the Comprehensive Improvement Plan that the board approved last meeting is working with multi-age groups of children as opposed to multi-grade groups of children. And one of the things that we put in there was setting individual learning goals for our children in the area of reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And that will be the work that we will do across the 3 years of the SIP in that regard, using the instructional strategy, which is the other goal of the reading and writing workshop. That will require some teacher training, as well as looking at how to help students and teachers set individual goals, mostly quarterly, in reading and writing. And that's what we had spoken about, not individual education plans, which are
That makes
defined
sense.
by special education law. We did also talk about, you had inquired about numbers of kids with individualized education plans, service agreements, and those are confidential, and we wouldn't really talk about that in terms of percentages or things like that. We do have the supports at Jamaica to meet those needs of those kids as defined by their plans. The additional interventionist is a half a day a week, which comes to about 3.5 hours. The goal there is to work with the teachers as well to provide the services across the week when the interventionist isn't there. So it will take a little bit of time to look at multi-age as opposed to multi-grade. But in terms of the SIP goal for safe and healthy schools, I felt that that was a better route to go so that kids, like you are referring to with your son, can move at a rate that may be a faster pace or a slower pace, depending on what their individual needs are, irregardless of the grade level, but really at what their current levels are. And the SIP in itself is just focused on reading. I'm hoping to put that in place in math at some point.
It does, however, my son's, it's a math thing. He needs more math. So I would like to, I can meet with Principal Bernardo again if we need, but I want something in place sooner rather than later to bolster his math. He loves it, he's doing well at it, I want him to get more of it.
I would just say, yes, your path of talking with the principal is the appropriate
Okay,
path.
I'm gonna do that, thank you.
Okay. Everybody else is on the agenda. Great. Thank you. Correspondence. We have one piece. I think I forwarded it to everybody. It's posted on the website. I know it is a request for consideration to pay tuition for a current Leland and Gray student to attend Vermont Academy. That's the first item of new business. And I believe as I understand it, the parent was going to come. I was so late I didn't get a chance to check. Are you here, Ms. Carson? No?
To be fair, because it's on at 7:30.
Okay, well, we can wait and see if she shows up, I guess. We can move along. If she comes back, we'll move her up. So, student reports then.
No.
What? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong agenda. I'm on my notes one, pardon me. You want to do policy now? Oh, Mike's here, okay, and Lindsay's here. All right. I'm sorry, I was on the wrong agenda, I apologize. Policy committee, Lindsay, you want to speak to this? Or Mike, you want to speak to this? Which one?
All right,
Pick one.
so this is the age of attendance policy. And what the policy committee is proposing, it's been a little bit since I've gone through the details of it, so correct me if I mess anything up, but basically it has to do with children entering kindergarten. And children who desire to enter kindergarten must have attained the age of 5 years on or before September 1st in the year in which the child plans to enroll in kindergarten. However, requests for exceptions can be submitted to the building principal beforehand. And in that case, early admission may be granted to a child whose birth date has passed the state of Vermont legal age, which is in this case, December 31st. So if a parent wants to have their child enter kindergarten early, and their birthday falls before December 31st, they can request to the building principal, and then upon that request, the school district will administer diagnostic stuff, whatever, as the superintendent's office determines,
Yep.
so that we can be sure that children enter who should be entering, so that those kids that may be ready a little bit early can have the opportunity. That's the general gist of it.
And starting with the 5-year-olds in kindergarten, then that works backwards according to this for pre-K, 3-year-old pre-K and 4-year-old pre-K. Same cutoffs?
No.
No?
3 and 4 is a hard September 1st.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's only for kindergarten.
okay. Questions?
Just to clarify, all those exceptions come to this board, the way this policy is written?
The way this policy is currently written, that is correct.
There'll be a recommendation that'll be from the administration.
Any other questions? So this is the policy that you're recommending that we warn tonight,
Yes.
okay? Make a motion. Sure, I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand. Go ahead.
So I'm here because I wanted to talk about this.
Tell the camera who you are,
Oh,
please.
I'm Allie McFalls from Newfane.
Thank you.
So I had been in contact with Mr. Anton for the last year. My daughter's birthday is September 2nd, so she misses the current cutoff by 1 day. I'm the director of a preschool program in Brattleboro, so she's been in my program since she was 6 weeks old. So I really think she's ready, but she misses the cutoff by 1 day. So I was just asking for some flexibility for individualizing it for kids. I mean, everybody's different, and no matter where the cutoff is, there's always going to be somebody on the other side of that. So if there was just a system of allowing for some flexibility, you know, there is still the chance that they would say no. But I'm just asking for the option of applying early for her.
So this policy, if approved, would allow for that.
Right.
Okay. Anything else? Questions? Okay, we just need to, yes, Drew?
I'll move that we warn policy C35 as presented.
Okay,
I'll second it.
thank you. All right, any further discussion now that it's been moved and seconded? Ready to vote? Okay, all in favor of warning policy C35, the age of attendance policy, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Appears the ayes have it. All right, we'll warn it. We'll see it again to adopt it. Thank you. All right, now, students. What do you got for us, guys? Ladies, gentlemen.
I got nothing.
I don't think we have
Good
anything
break
to
overall.
report.
Did you have a nice break?
Was a good break, yeah.
Today was hard.
Yeah,
First day back. Rough.
excited for my new trip now that we're not going to China.
Do tell.
We are going to Vietnam, Cambodia, and Thailand for 3 weeks, I believe, instead of a month.
Wow. Awesome. You have anybody that speaks any of those languages?
Nope.
Google Translate do those languages?
We can't bring our phones, so it should be an adventure.
Wow.
It's actually really good not 3 bringing weeks your without phones, phones. just so you know.
Do they still make books that translate for you, like the little guidebooks?
An hour later. Probably not.
Seriously, they could be out of print now that everybody has a phone. I don't know. I've gone all over the place with just Google Translate. Wow. Well, that sounds exciting. All right, so principals publish their reports. Does anyone have any questions for the principals on anything they read in the reports? Anybody have anything to add? Bob?
So we're going to jump on those coattails about the trip. So many of you are familiar with our Journeys program. It's been in place for a couple of decades now, and this will be the first time that Journeys trip, which happens every other year, will not go to China. And so it's been kind of a big deal, but obviously there are many reasons for this, or really one reason for this. And that one reason is that our flights were canceled. And so we didn't have a choice. So we were closely monitoring the situation up until the point that the flights were canceled, and had a lot of concerns about the status at that point. So it's a done deal. We've been working on things, but as part of the policy side of things, and I'm hoping somebody can answer the question for me. I searched on the website to see what the new district's policy was around field trips. I didn't find one on the district page. It would be D30.
Haven't done it yet.
Which is not a required one, it's an optional one. So I based my approach based on the old Leland and Gray policy, which requires the principal to inform the board of an international trip. So I'm hereby informing you, on the pursuant of a now defunct policy, in absence of a new policy, that the trip is happening. I have some details of the itinerary. We're using a travel agency or travel company, Intrepid Travel. If people want to see this, I can pass this around. This has the itinerary in it and talks about the different places that we're going to send them to. All the places, well, let me put it this way. The CDC ranks their alerts on 3 levels: watch level 1, an alert level 2, and a warning level 3. So the only place that we're going that is on that alert system is a stopover in the Seoul, South Korea airport, which is an alert level 2. That is not a total avoid travel there, but just a more of a high alert. The kids and the chaperones will not be leaving the airport at any time. So that's just where the flight has a layover in. So that's one area. There are 2 other areas or destinations that are not under any of those levels, but sort of get an honorable mention from the CDC. And that's Thailand and Vietnam. And that just means that there are people infected there, and they've been identified by the CDC. So people pretty much infected everywhere. So at this point, those have not been upgraded to any watches, alerts, or warnings. So we're going along with that being fine. And I have the details of the South Korea advisory if people want to read that as well. But again, we're just going to be in the airport there. And by we, I mean not me. If you want to read that. So yeah, I'm happy to take any questions, but I was sort of following the idea of informing the board of international trip.
Thanks.
When is that trip?
The dates of the trip are March 25th through April 14th.
Do they still get to perform and do some of the things that they?
Abby can probably tell you more about
Yeah.
the latest on that.
I don't remember who it is, but one of the chaperones knows someone in Bangkok, I believe. So we're trying to get in contact with some schools in Thailand to do some performances there. And it's also their water festival, so it might work with their whole New Year type of things. So we're trying to figure it out.
Very cool.
And we did add an additional chaperone to the trip as well, just because of the different nature of the trip and the fact that it was not something that the current chaperones were familiar with, like they were with traveling to China. So we added Phoebe Connolly to that, and she has traveled on this tour with this company in previous years. So she's a veteran international traveler with students. So we added her as well to make it, just to have someone who's been there and done that, to make parents and students and administration feel a little more comfortable.
Excellent. Sounds exciting. Any questions for, was there a hand? Yeah, go
I
ahead.
just have I can wait, but I have something about the reports I wanted to ask.
Yeah,
It's
go ahead,
in
ask the
general.
question.
Okay. I was wondering, first of all, I'd like to say I love the packets that we're getting. That's very helpful. I was wondering if there was a possibility to make the principals' reports more uniform. This one had Townsend's, which was a lot of, pros about what they're doing, everything. And then, not that I don't like your reports, but Jamaica's was hard to figure out. Because like the graphs call for color, and we don't have a color printer, and you can barely read them. And so it's, and it requires that a layperson understand graphs and things like that to figure out, to determine what it's actually telling them instead of a written out thing, but whatever. And And as an aside, I was very impressed by all the things Townsend is doing, and that's what comes when you have a dedicated full-time principal,
So I can speak to the
equal opportunity.
Sure, go ahead.
So you may not notice, but they all work with the same 5 topics. And each principal gets to have the freedom about how they want to express that. Rarely do we have graphs, but at different times of the year, we have results that can be shared in different formats and ways. But all the 5 headings all come from when we had our integrated field reviews, which is a study of the educational quality standards, which is the guiding principles for operating schools. And so those are the 5 categories in which we consistently report out through all WCSU schools. So it may look a little different, but the uniformity is reporting out consistently under those 5 categories.
It's just difficult to make assumptions to figure out what it's telling you if it's
Sure.
presented differently. Thank you.
Anybody else have a question? Comment? Okay, thanks. The long-term planning work calendar, there are 2 versions of that calendar presented. This is sort of an attempt at a roadmap for discussion purposes of our next few months of work. Obviously the budget, presented some challenges, and those challenges are ongoing. And, this is sort of a couple of different ideas laid out for us of a way that we can, take the time to have the discussions that we need to have and gather the information and try and make some plans and maybe some changes about how things are done to address the challenges that we face. The biggest difference between the 2 of these calendars is one has the continued existence of the budget committee doing some preliminary, some deeper work, basically adding a second meeting each month for some of the board members to go through some of the financial data and then be able to speak to it a little bit at the next meeting. We can do away with that because there may be some sentiment to not have the committee do some of that work. But if the board does the work by itself, we may need to add some of those meetings that would have been budget committee meetings to the board schedule, just seeing how things are going. So it's the question really is, do we want to have more meetings as a full board, or do we want to sub off some to a committee? And this is just 2 different takes. We can, build off of these, change these, edit these as we see fit. But something to discuss. We don't have to necessarily adopt one tonight. As you can see, this doesn't even start until April, so we can continue discussing it. Ask questions, redesign, however we want to do it. But Trish, yes.
Maybe I'm crazy.
Probably.
Are we the 3rd Monday?
You are.
Of every month?
These are additional meetings. These are non-board work meetings. This is
sorry.
purely about planning out your next
So this is
3
one
to
additional
5
per
years.
month.
Yes.
Yeah. This is additional meetings. So you are not going crazy.
You just do what I did. You work food shelf till 5 or 7 and run across the street.
Disappoint people.
No, you leave people.
Just want to make sure.
Sorry, Trish.
Thank you. I wanted to make sure I wasn't crazy.
No.
No, not at all. Any other thoughts? Want to see some more permutations of this? You like this? Which one do you like?
I think it makes sense to keep the budget committee because it's a smaller group, just to kind of wade through the stuff and, have options to present to the full board. My 2 cents.
Drew?
I would be on the opposite side. I think the board needs to see all the financial information.
there was never any information that the budget committee saw that the board didn't see. I have no, I mean, I have no feelings either way, but it does, you know, if we do away with the budget committee, the board itself will do more work. And it's really our decision. What do we want to do?
When do we reorganize?
The March meeting, March 6th.
You won't reorganize until April because you have the at-large vote on March 25th.
Right. Thank you. I forgot about at-large. So April will reorganize.
Does it make sense to hold this discussion and vote at that meeting when you're reorganizing
Well,
about committees and?
We don't have to vote on this at all. I mean, this doesn't start until April 13th. The first meeting on this is April 13th.
I think Drew's
So-
point is you guys,
Right.
you won't meet till April 20th to reorganize.
Right.
And April 20th is a break, so it could be April 27th.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, if it's out there now, people can look at it, think about it, see if something comes to you, and we'll decide, you know, in April what we're gonna do. I mean, that makes perfect sense. All right? Anything else? Thank you. Okay, so, weighting study. There is some information in the packet, which I'll just take here, about the pupil weighting study. There's some information about how it would affect our district and the surrounding districts in terms of what it would do to the tax rates if the proposed weights were changed in accordance with the study. And as you can see, it's a pretty significant impact. WCSU had a meeting 2 weeks ago, week ago?
2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago, where we had several legislators here talking about this. And, you know, there's now the Senate Committee on Education is having a public hearing Wednesday, March 11th. We can testify by going up there or written testimony. I know the WCSU is having a letter of testimony sent up in favor of, you know, modifying the pupil weighting based on the study and implementing it now. You know, it corrects inequities that have been in place for quite a long time. And, you know, some districts are really struggling under the way things are weighted now. You know, I guess we already have the supervisory union sending testimony up there. I would certainly be willing to, if the board wanted, write a letter from our district as well, supporting the weighting study, changing the weights to, you know, to match the study and to do it immediately. I suspect that WCSU will send the board chair up to actually testify. I don't know if more physical presence is needed, but I certainly think letters. Individually, people can write letters. I've been copied on a few, so I know people are doing it. You know, but I wanted to put it out there just because I know it's something that affects us all, and you know, we can weigh in officially if we'd like to, and you can all weigh in personally if you'd like to, and you can ask questions about the study.
I think you should write a letter on behalf of the board.
Want to put that in motion form?
Sure. I'd like to make a motion that the board chair write a letter stating
In support of the weighting study?
in support of the weighting study. That's it. That's it.
Implementation of the new weights? Okay. Right away. And right away?
Yeah, well, no, obviously, yeah. Well, everything you just said.
Okay, thank you.
You already said all that.
Yeah.
Why do I gotta repeat it in a
I just
motion
want to
form?
make sure. Thank you, Ken.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Al. Any further discussion on that? Any questions on the study results? They actually taped the, I'm sorry. One sec. They actually taped the WCSU meeting. BCTV filmed that, and Laura Sibilia speaking on this, it was really educational. It's worth going back and watching that just to hear her speak. Go ahead, Patty.
So I don't know, I thought maybe, I thought Emily might be here, but she's busy, I guess. I was wondering, I read through this and I just wanted to ask if anybody knows, did the legislative joint fiscal office that did this, did they use the same factoring, like the free and reduced lunch, to determine poverty level as the report did? But I can ask.
Well, no, they use the exact same elements,
Premises.
just different years.
Okay.
The original weighting study, the 150-page one, they used FY18 for modeling and simulations. This one is FY20. So this is the most recent modeling simulation using the exact same factors as the study.
Any other questions, comments before we vote? All right, all in favor of the weighting study letter motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. Marlboro's copy for him. Oh, that's Marlboro's one?
Yeah, just what it's-
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. The 2021 calendar. Ken, this is on there for you.
Yay. Why don't we have Veterans Day off? Because the Career Center doesn't do it. Because Career Center's wrong doesn't mean we have to be wrong too.
The Career Center doesn't offer Veterans Day off. We can do our own thing here. I actually was at an assembly at Leland and Gray on Veterans Day. And I thought they did a really nice job of saying, you know, why would you sit home and watch video games on Veterans Day? I mean, it's not like you're going to go do anything necessarily pro-veteran. And they changed a little of the curriculum and the assembly to actually honor veterans and educate about what had actually happened. I thought that was fairly appropriate. Is there even, I mean, this is just a question. If you have Veterans Day off, are there actual activities? Like, they don't really do parades on Veterans Day.
Well, they do.
Do they?
Not here in
Not
town.
here, no.
Are you leading it, Ken?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not here in
I mean,
Townsend,
there's
no,
not
we
really,
don't.
like Memorial Day, there's something.
Right.
And they're different, but there's not really a
Well,
certain
there's
way to celebrate.
there's things up north, and, you know, White River Junction does something.
Okay.
We do something up the Capitol, and, but, you know, eh.
Would it have, I mean, if we changed our calendar to actually allow our students to not attend school on Veterans Day in our district, what effect would that have? Would that have much of an effect on sort of relations interdistrict school? I mean, we losing a school day? I'm speaking to administrators here.
Well, I mean, you've already conformed with the law by having all the major vacations matching with the Career Center. So one day will be can be an individual district decision. So I don't know what River Valleys will decide or Marlboro will decide, but for the schools of the West River District, that decision is within your hands. So it's all or nothing, you know. So you're all the schools of West River would be in, or all the schools of West River would not be in. So I don't think it really has a ripple effect beyond West River.
Okay.
Out of curiosity, would swapping a day would that count as changing 2 days? Or is that like still in the realm
it's
of?
changing 2 days, but
Still in the realm of possibility?
it's still in the realm of possibility, yes. And there is no, the decision that this board would make is simply to start letting families know, because once you guys okay this, since the WCSU board has done it, then we can make a West River calendar and then we can send it out. So the timeline on making the decision is completely up to you guys.
My major problem with this is that it used to be that they all had Career Center, everybody had it all. Then the Career Center decided to change it, so then we have to change it. And I just feel that that's wrong.
Well, we don't have to change it.
Exactly, but if we just follow, this is what they're doing, do we do it? You know, just go along, which is, seems like that's what a lot of things are, what's wrong with this country is people just go along. Oh, we're gonna change that, okay. And just do it because everybody else is doing it. It's not the right way to do things.
I would be in favor of having it off. I think it's important, I think it's an important message to show, I think it shows that we feel like it's important.
Was that a motion? Yeah.
That was discussion.
Okay, that was discussion. I mean,
I'm not hearing a lot of discussion.
I
I move to have the calendar changed to have Veterans Day off. There's a motion.
okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right. Any further discussion on that?
Really?
I wonder if we're gonna hear from any parents who are like, oh, great, now we got another day to deal with. We gotta work, but the kids don't.
Well,
That's what I was wondering.
We did that for
We-
teacher in services,
I know,
offer this
I
calendar
think
without
we've-
consideration, so.
yeah, we give them
Well, we give
a
them
whole
enough
lot of
advance warning,
in-services,
so, you know, I mean, that's my only question on that. Doesn't matter to me, you know. Trish?
I think it's a really good point about, that you made about the student, the schools, or at least here anyway, what you saw, making it a teachable moment. What is Veterans Day? Who are veterans? What is that? I mean, I feel like that, I would worry that that would be lost. As the daughter of a veteran and niece and of many, a lot of service people in my family, they all have it off, and I just, because they're in the South and close to Marine bases, Marine Corps bases, and I think might feel more impactful there to have the day, in areas of the country where it's more easily seen. I don't know, it's more easily understood and honored and made a big deal of. I think that was a good point. Just here, we don't have that type of palpable physical connection to a base, and what does it teach the kids to just have a free day? Maybe there is a better way if you're in school and you're learning something about what is this? I don't know, I'm just saying this just because I personally feel a bit torn about giving the day if it's not gonna mean something.
Thank you.
Bob wanted to say.
Yeah, I was going to highlight what Joe's referring to, what we talked about. We did a brief history of where the day comes from, and distinguishing it from Memorial Day and Veterans Day, how they're different. And we talked about the idea of honoring those who fought for freedom and fought for the rights of our students, one of those rights of which is public education. And so that was the argument we made, just to answer that a little bit, was talking about like you're here because they fought, because they stood up for our freedoms, and so to not exercise that right on a day that has earned that right it was a good opportunity for a teachable lesson, I guess is how I would leave that. And this is unrelated to that particular conversation, or do you want to come back to me on the early release days? Because before you guys adopt a calendar to mimic what they're doing, they have very different approach to early release days. You're talking about just the vacation?
This is just the vacation and Veterans Day.
All right. 'Cause
All
they
the
have-
other placement will be coming.
All right, so make sure people are all clear on that.
Yeah, I just had to time this one out because we had just done the WCSU and
Gotcha.
matching to the Career Center.
Okay.
And at that discussion, we had a discussion, so this is the only calendar I had at the time.
Gotcha, okay. We wouldn't necessarily be following the early release days that are on.
No, the only things that we are locked into are the long vacations and the discussion right now.
And so if we would have Veterans Day off, we would obviously have another day added somewhere. Right? So it's not like we're losing a day.
Right. We'd still schedule 176 days.
Okay.
Right, no.
And along with that, the stuff that you guys do for Veterans Day, you could do before Veterans Day. So that maybe they could find something worthwhile to do outside of school on their own, possibly with their family, and go to one of these, celebrations.
I just had a clarifying question, so I looked at the calendar. So we're following their calendar, which means our February break is now shifting back again to the end of February?
That is correct.
More discussion on Veterans Day? Oh, yeah, go ahead, Krista.
I just have a question about vacation, just because I have 2 elementary and 1 at Leland and Gray. Will their vacation still stay?
So the Christmas, Thanksgiving, the Christmas holiday, February and April will all be matching the Career Center. As Chris just pointed out, next year, this week would be off.
But the elementary school?
The entire district.
Okay.
The entire supervisory, in fact, the entire county.
Okay. Because if not, somebody's out for a week.
No, they will not be split.
No, we wouldn't do that to you.
Give them a vacation.
Okay.
So do we have to decide now what day we'd add? Can that be another discussion?
No, if you guys just say, we don't want to have school on the 11th, I'm just going to bring you back a calendar that represents that.
Okay.
And then if you guys want to make an individual district change, not on those 4 major things, you
Okay.
can tell us to do that.
Okay.
All right, ready to vote? Yes, Al?
I just wanted to ask Bob, do you have any veterans that come in?
We have at least 1 staff member who, or maybe 2 staff members here who are. We called out a name and thanked them and did that applause thing, but we didn't bring in any speakers. It was just me and a microphone. We could, certainly. You could do whatever you want with it, but
I was just thinking back
in the time since I've been here, that's not how it's been done.
Yeah, so I mean, back to the teachable moment, you bring in, that could be something you do.
Sure.
Bring in maybe a high-profile veteran or, yeah.
Do lots of things.
Yes.
One question, would the extra day have to go at the end of the year? So you go further into June?
Doesn't have to. I would just take this information, design a WCSU-wide calendar, give it to each individual board, and then some boards say, I only want to go 175 days, I don't want to go 176. Some boards don't want to start or end at a certain time. The last 3 years, everybody in the WCSU has had the same calendar, all done 176 days with all the same days off. But the legal requirement is just the 4 major breaks align with the Career Center of which we're attached to.
Okay, so, motion
Call the
is
question.
the motion is to have Veterans Day off, February 11th. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right. Redesign that calendar. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Before we go to old business, it is 10 of 8. Did the parent of the tuition request student show up? No? Okay, so, let's do it. Yeah, the request is to, yeah, I had it loose, so I pulled it on. Thank you. So anyway, thank you. The request is to pay tuition to VA. VA has apparently agreed to let this child attend for 16-7. She's currently an 8th grader here and a resident of the town of Wyndham. The parent says, quote, "I believe she will thrive in the atmosphere at Vermont Academy." And they're just requesting that we consider school tuition. Attached to this packet is the statute that actually governs the that actually governs the discussion, and we
It's C.
it's yeah
B.
it's C,
It's the second to paragraph from the end.
this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can tuition a student to an approved independent school or an independent school meeting education quality standards if the school board judges that a student has unique educational needs that cannot be served within the district or at a nearby public school. The letter requesting it doesn't really set forth any sort of unique educational need, and I was sort of hoping that the parent would show up to sort of add to that.
Can we table it?
We can put the request off, and I
back
could
to the
even
parent.
respond to her that said, and tell her that, you know, the statute's kind of clear, we need this, and if she feels that there are, could she please present them? And, you know, if there is such a thing, we can then have it, you know, our education professionals speak to that, and we can make the decision, move it to the next meeting, and I'll let the parent know.
True. So, can we also get clarification? It says here, I believe the number is 16.7. Is it tuition rate or per pupil rate that we'd be paying?
That is the, it is specific to Vermont Academy. It is specific to a new program that Vermont Academy has, in which they are essentially providing a scholarship for the difference between the announced average public high school tuition, which this year was $16,686. And so
So that number is real, that's in this.
that, yes.
So I would make a motion that we table it.
Second.
Okay. To the next meeting then. Any discussion on tabling it?
Do it.
Okay, all in favor of tabling this to the next meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right,
You'll email the.
I will correspond with the parent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any tests for the administration for the next meeting?
Well, I'm going to give you an updated work calendar recognizing the reorg. Just look at that because it makes sense when you have April 20th as your natural date. So I'll update that and bring that to the board on the March
Okay.
16th meeting.
You give us the annual calendar with Veterans Day off too?
Annual calendar with Veterans Day. I'll give you an update on the audit. I will respond to the 5% over under for Miss Dixon.
Oh, I'll send her that.
You
I
got
have-
that?
Yeah, I have it.
All right. Okay. That's what I have so far.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes?
We're gonna have audit numbers before the annual meeting.
We should. We absolutely should.
We have copies available.
We will.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, any other tasks?
Oh, could I just point out something?
Sure.
Just to back up what Drew said. So these annual reports will be at all the town clerks and all schools by tomorrow. So I've asked each principal just to put in their newsletters that they're available so that people can come and get them. And they're available also at the town offices. And then we'll have, I've asked people to bring them to the town meeting as well. So you'll have all that stuff, and then if we have any left, I'll have them on the 25th as well, March 20th. And the 24th, the meeting prior.
Thanks. So I just realized I skipped over school choice. I tried. So we have the survey results. I've gone over them. Bill, you want to speak to them, or?
Well, so I just tried to put them all out there without any judgment or analysis, just to make it not my opinion of the results, but here are the results, so that I felt like I was accomplishing the task I was asked. Question 1 is, did you participate in school choice? So number 2 is the follow-up to that. So question 1 asks you, did you? If you did, please go to 2. If you didn't, go further down in the survey. But no, I thought I was pleased to provide the school choice survey and to get the answers and bring it back to the board.
There were, it seemed overall positive. There were some comments in there that were not positive, but generally, the people who exercised choice seemed to be happy with it. Thoughts, questions, follow-up?
So what's the bottom line?
Well, so we have this data, which I will keep. School choice opens up March 1st. So in all the newsletters in the schools, that will be going out to parents today. The link has been updated on the website. All the Facebook pages will be updated by the end of the week so that parents can start applying next week for school choice. And it'll be our second year of kind of rolling it through, and then I think we'll have an idea of kind of where we stand, and then that will kind of hopefully flow into your long-term conversations about what you guys want to do for the next 3 to 5 years as you see if there's any patterns or trends or migration.
Can I ask a clarifying question about these? There was several different comments that had to do with, obviously, the influx of students into Townsend this year. And I wanted to just clarify that the classroom size is continued to follow what the policy we had predetermined was, right? It was all below the allowable
Yes.
limit.
And I have all the projected enrollments from the current existence to next year, and then that allows us to decide how many spaces are available. So like, for example, in Townsend, there are no spaces available in the 4th and 5th grades. That's just the one off the top of my head because it's the largest one. But yeah, so we take it, we go off of the 14 to 18 in the K through 3, and the averaging of 18 to 24 in 4 and 5, and flowing that through into the best possible system we can do with the numbers we have at the time, knowing that after school choice things can change, and I may be coming to you guys and saying the system looks different from what we planned for. Here are some possibilities that we can go down and go from there. But yes, that's how it's set up.
Yeah, sure.
Well, that was exactly what I was going to say.
What's the largest projected class that we have?
So right now, when we planned it, it's 25. Although Principal Roach let me know this morning that there's a possibility of some people returning, so that could be 27. So I could be coming back to the board and having a discussion with you about that.
So,
And Joe.
clarify, if we're at 27, then based on our policy, we would split that class?
Well, based on your policy is about clusters. It's not about individual classrooms. It's about groupings of 4th and 5th. So I will more than likely on the 16th of March come back and go, yes, I've confirmed that odds are really good that this is occurring, and these are some different possibilities that the board can consider. 27 technically would still fit your policy because of the averages, but you have to look at not only fitting the policy, but the practicality of how that plays out as well. So yes, you should expect something from me on March 16th.
Okay. Go ahead.
Question, when is the deadline? And deadline for this, is it a solid deadline?
It's March, the month of
Beginning
March 1st through March 31st.
to the 31st? And is that a solid deadline? It doesn't get moved around like?
That is the current practice that we do, yes.
Yeah.
So I would say that, yeah, class size was certainly a theme that ran throughout, and it was both Townsend residents and not Townsend residents that were speaking to it in kind of a negative way. So I would say that if we happen to get any waiting study money, that we might consider, you know, helping this out, adding a teacher back or doing something to help with that situation.
Mm-hmm. Mike?
I just wanted to clarify something that I've heard. I was surprised to hear that people think that I was against choice, even though I voted for choice. So just wanted to say that just because I ask questions in meetings does not mean that my opinion on the policy has changed. And I supported it then, and I still support it.
It's a little more campaign than anything else. Crystal?
No.
Clarify. Crystal Garvey, Wyndham. I just had some comments on school choice. For us, of course, everybody knows we're supposed to go to Wyndham. But we did pre-K in Townsend, and it was wonderful. I mean, Mr. Roach is amazing, the school is amazing, the staff is amazing. I think school choice is really, really important because although Jackson is like a superstar kid there, our other grandson, Oliver, he's not doing well. And it's not the staff, it's not the teachers. I mean, Katie is his teacher, so he has probably the best teacher he could. And for whatever reason, that environment just doesn't work for him. So for him, we need to make another choice. So I think having school choice is really important because an environment may not work for a kid, and you may have to find something that works for that particular kid. So.
Thank you.
The answers to some of the questions on this, especially the free flow answers, confirmed what a discussion I had with a parent from Jamaica about why they and other families left Jamaica. It had to do with a toxic environment, a lockdowns type of feeling, lack of friendliness by the administration, other things that, to me, how could these have gone on long enough that it would cause people to leave that school and nobody know about it? How could that happen? This did not have to happen to Jamaica. It didn't have to happen. It was unnecessary. If that situation had been addressed when it was happening and fixed, and somebody dropped the ball, and we're paying the price, and we're not happy.
Great.
Got it in the camera. I got to do this special. As I understand it, and I have no involvement whatsoever, as I understand it, the toxic environment was before this board took over. So it's kind of unfair to even point to them and suggest that they weren't paying attention or that they were letting something happen when it should have been the Jamaica School Board who was dealing with it, not this board. So as a member of the public, I just want to support them a little
Okay, well,
bit.
somebody had the buck stop somewhere. And we're paying the price for, and we're not happy because that was confirmed by this survey.
Go ahead.
Sue Stomsky, Jamaica. Our representatives are the same representatives from Jamaica on the old board that is the existing board, and the superintendent, excuse me, is the same superintendent. So whether
Excuse me.
the...
Address.
Okay, the
here.
superintendent is the same superintendent. So obviously, if there was an issue, our board, which is the same, Drew was on the board.
Nope. I haven't been on a Jamaica Village board in 8 years.
All right. Placing blame for
No,
something that happened
what
a
I'm
while
saying
ago
is that it was
really
the same
counterproductive.
thing. If it went to our administration, it's the same administration. If there was an issue, which is what we're hearing, is that our board tried as much as they possibly could to correct it. And they had roadblocks again, and more roadblocks, stopping them from issues that were happening, which, as you can see, most of us here don't have children in Jamaica school. But we want our school, we want to find out what happened. That's all we're asking. How did they get to this point? And that's the frustration part. We assumed it was a great school. I had 3 kids go there, and you couldn't ask for those 3 to be any better citizens out there now. So obviously they had a good start. Something happened, and we're wondering when that happened and why did it happen? What wasn't happening to help us fix it? That's all.
And it could happen again
And it could.
to any other school. Because I can't imagine that it was a quiet situation. I've been on school boards long enough to know that if parents are having an issue, they are vocal about it. And the Jamaica School Board meetings were not televised, so you couldn't tell that from it. And it was serious. It was very serious.
I don't know. Ours were televised. We're pretty transparent.
I know that.
I
People need to know that if it could happen to us, it can happen to anybody.
Anything else on the school results?
Principals, keep your ears open.
Anything else on the choice survey results, comments?
I have one other comment.
Sure.
Some of after going through the comments, it seemed like there was a couple of potential inequities between schools that we don't need to talk about today, but may want to consider talking about. It sounds like the pre-K only in Townsend, there were some comments about they chose to stay because they were in for pre-K and chose to stay. And that there was also comments about concern about other schools, like I would like my kid to stay in my town, but I'm not gonna start them and then move them. So that was one thing. And then another thing was apparently there's different laughter schedules between the schools, and some offer every day and some don't. And how is that determined? How is that funded? How did we get to where we are with that? I don't actually know the answer to that.
I don't either. Can you tell us at the next meeting?
Sure, I'll give you a
Thanks.
laughter update. And a
Thank
pre-K,
you.
sure.
Question?
No, I remember a discussion that we had about preschool, that we had multiple times about preschool. And that Newfane did not want preschool, which is why we originally did not have a preschool program in Newfane.
Previously, that was part of the discussion.
So are you suggesting that we need to have the preschool discussion
Yep,
again?
yep.
I think that can be part of the
I
larger
think
context of
this is
the whole
a big part of
discussion.
that. Verification, anyway, more than just things I've heard.
Okay. Anything else? All right.
I did not provide you guys the minutes, so you can We can add them to the next agenda. I do have the pay orders. That's the most important. That's a little bit.
There are no committee assignments for that. Policy.
Now do you guys believe me about that consent agenda thing we were talking about?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
We
I
don't
do.
need one?
Well, it'll just be minutes and pay orders at the end instead.
Makes more sense.
The pay orders all in order, or do we have to pull them out?
I've got one correction.
Okay, so the pay orders have to get pulled out of the consent agenda, and the minutes didn't get sent, so they're pulled out of the consent agenda, so there is no consent agenda, Ken, you win. So what can we, what's the question with the pay orders?
We just had one check that's written wrong, so it's one correction.
Oh, so it's not anything, we can still approve it.
We can approve it with one correction.
All right,
Pull it out.
perfect.
Did you pull that one?
Yes, I did.
Thanks.
Want to make the motion, since you got them in front of you?
Yep. Make a motion that we approve the pay orders totaling $165,429.44.
Is there a second?
That's corrected.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? I know they were reviewed and there's one correction, but other than that, they seem fine. All right, all in favor of approving the pay orders, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Beautiful. Thank you very much. Okay, anything else? All right, we have executive session tonight. So everybody can go.
Rick, you got the pay orders, man? This isn't you, Rick.
We don't need you. There,
We have to move into.
yeah, we have to move into executive session.
I'll make every time.
All right, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to go into executive session for a personnel matter. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, opposed? Okay, we're out of executive session and there was no decision made, so we just need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, we're adjourned.